How much are you looking for this Air India flight to take off? Because you've said either it'll be disinvestment or it'll be a closed down.
Air India is flying. Air India is a first-rate asset. My capacity to go to the finance minister and get another bailout package is next to, you know what? Privatization is not a choice. Privatization is something on which we don't have an option. Not a single person will be laid off during this period.
We are extremely thankful to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Prime Minister Modi ji, because it was his dream to connect the two Silicon Valleys between San Francisco to Bengaluru.
Record-breaking flight, the kind of glass ceilings we talk about. She and her colleague broke them. I'm an admirer.
I am nobody. I'm just a tiny drop in the ocean.
Why has Air India brought its retirement age down to 58 years from 65?
I have no idea. Those are management decisions which don't come to the ministry.
I also have to compliment you for using that tweet where you said, "Party nahi ho rahi hai."
This new phase is amongst the younger people. Some of our young friends have been partying like mad. I saw pictures of Goa. I saw pictures of Dubai. The virus, as we know it, with its mutation, can be dealt with by the vaccines we have available. Let's be careful. Till you have unlimited supply. I am very relaxed on musical taste. Devotional songs to ghazals to Pink Floyd, talking to you and through you to my other friends and Zoya. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri, for your time today on India Podcast. For our listeners and viewers, it's utmost pleasure to have you with us on the show today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Everybody, when I put out that we are going to have a meeting and interaction with you, the most of the question that came to us was about Air India. How soon do we see it fly? Because it's been time that we've seen, we know disinvestment with this government has not been easy. Not just this government, any government, because of the bureaucracy and the kind of time it takes to cross through that. How much are you looking for this Air India flight to take off? Because you've said either it'll be disinvestment or it'll be a closed down. So where are you hinting us to go?
Madam, first of all, Air India is flying. Air India is a first-rate asset. It has 120 planes. It flies to 80 domestic destinations. It used to fly to 40 or so international destinations before COVID. It's flying even more. On International Women's Day, Captain Zoya and her all-female crew flew non-stop, I think from Bengaluru to San Francisco or the other way around.
I would like you to come on the screen when we are talking about that.
And it was on International Women's Day, it was a record-breaking flight. All, you know, the kind of glass ceilings we talk about, she and her colleague broke them. I'm an admirer. So what I'm saying is not because Zoya is here. When she's not around, I say the same thing. Air India is a first-rate concern. It was at one stage one of the world's best airlines, both in terms of its credibility, engineering services, the quality of the professionals, its cuisine, etc. But a well-known thing is Air India, because of a series of factors, today stares at a cumulative debt of something like 60,000 crores, which results in the government having to put in 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, even 9,000 crores a year just to keep it afloat.
Yes.
When I came on the scene, I was very clear on two things. One is that privatization is not a choice. Privatization is something on which we don't have an option. Because the choice is not do we privatize or we don't privatize. Because a civil aviation minister, in order to keep an airline going, has to go to the finance minister to get those bailout packages. Therefore, we took a conscious decision Because of our internal analysis, which showed that previous attempts at privatization had been half-hearted. We will privatize this, we will not privatize that. We will keep 25, 26% because we want to have retaining care. By the way, governments normally, and I'm sharing this with you too and through you to your reader, to your participant, governments normally don't like to let go. But let me again put on record, at least my colleagues who are dealing with this issue on the civil aviation side, all of us are convinced that we put in a great effort. I made a promise to Air India through the representatives who came to see me, not a single person will be laid off during this period. Private airlines which have great cash reserve, one of them has a cash reserve of 27,000 crores had at that time. They still laid off 27,000 people. We didn't lay off anybody. Somebody tried to produce a false narrative. No, if you haven't done this, if you haven't done the CMD will have a. I said, I'm not interested. I want Air India as a going concern to be privatized. We are almost there. Anku, I think 4th June, the financial bids have to come in, which means we'll have to navigate. There are still one or two small residual issues. I seek everybody's cooperation because it's not somebody can now want to throw a spanner in the works. No, unless this is done, we don't agree. Be my guest. My capacity to go to the finance minister and get another bailout package after what we've managed to do is next to you know what. So I am confident that we have, when the original bids came in, the department concerned, which is DIPAM under the Ministry of Finance, had used the word multiple bidders.
Okay.
I don't know how many are left, but we have enough, and the bids will come in by the beginning of June. I'm sure very soon thereafter, the process will be completed. Just now, as we speak, the prospective bidders are going through the books, devouring the things, etc. Air India has done tremendous work during the pandemic. I gave you the figures of Vande Bharat flight, quite apart from the high points of the flight across the pole to San Francisco. Was it to San Francisco or from San Francisco? I think from San Francisco, right? Correct. Okay.
So, Mr. Puri, I have to tell you this. Zoya has been up for the last 5 hours for this interaction that we're here because she's in New York and I had to coordinate time with her. So thanks, Zoya, for that. And it is real pride for me to have this moment with the aviation minister and the only women commander of Air India who could take such a big flight, commercial longest flight we have ever seen, and make us all proud. So thanks for this moment, both of you. But Zoya, this is your moment. And I wanted this only because I missed it. I could never see the felicitation.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm also an admirer. Lakshmi is also an admirer of Zoya. So let me tell you. But don't say only. We did a study of the government airlines. All my other friends are going to get very upset with me, like Annie and the others. And
I beg apology for that.
Three lovely other ladies who came to our place the other day. Let me tell you.
Yes, Akansha and every place.
Yeah. Let me tell you something which is really heartwarming. We did an analysis of all global airlines. And what stood out was that in the case of Air India, the number of lady cockpit crew was 12.4%, which is double the amount of the next airline. Now, that to me is the important point. And Zoya is the supreme best example of that. When you do something like that, you hit that. But I believe, Zoya, I saw you somewhere. Where was it? Vogue magazine, or where did you appear?
Forbes, I think, sir.
Forbes. Sorry, Forbes is even more impressive.
So Zoya, all to you now. I want you to now share your experience, how it has been, and what kind of feeling you have with this kind of achievement of the country backing you. Like, I'm so happy the way Mr. Puri is like all in admiration for all the right reason. But I want to know your view as well.
Thank you so much, Anku, for having me. I think I would have definitely stayed on all night. I came to New York in the morning today. So I was really excited to share the stage with the Honorable Minister Saab. It's such a matter of privilege for me to be here with him sharing this space, sir. So thank you for this privilege. And so let me start by saying that it's not me, firstly. I am just a tiny drop in the ocean. I'm just a mere orchestrator. And this is it starts from PM Modi Saab, our amazing ministry, because like Minister Saab was saying that Air India is flying. I would like to reiterate, Air India is not only flying, Air India is flying high, because I think we are the only airline which has actually grown during the pandemic with respect to the routes. It was not there earlier. Like earlier, we had limited routes. Now, in fact, we have increased our frequencies, we have increased our flights, we have increased our destinations. And I think Air India is the only one to do so. And of course, we have the backing of our government, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, which are rock solid behind all of us, combined with our top senior management working tirelessly, towards getting initially the Vande Bharat mission and now the air bubble agreement. I think they've all done a fantastic job. So I am really, really proud of the Minister of Civil Aviation and the Indian government, the way they have taken the whole situation heads on, sir. So I think the admiration flows both ways equally, and of course, I'm very fond of Lakshmi ma'am as well. So we are extremely thankful to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Prime Minister Modi ji, because it was his dream to connect the two Silicon Valleys between San Francisco to Bengaluru. And I'm so glad with the help of Civil Aviation Ministry, our top management of Air India, and all of us combined, we four Bharat ki betis. Like I said, I'm just a mere orchestrator. My name is here, but I am nobody. I'm just a tiny drop in the ocean. If it wasn't for my amazing ladies, Captain Tanmay Papagiri, Captain Akanksha Sunabane, Captain Shivani Manas, and not only them, every single woman, every single woman pilot of Air India was behind it. Every single instructor, every single of our top management was behind it, because we were all trying to make this flight happen for all the right reasons. It saves time, it saves money, it's all contributing towards a greater good for our planet, for the future. So it's a brilliant start to the year, I would say, and it's all thanks to the combined effort, and it's always a team effort, Anku. It's never anybody, just one person or whatever. So I'm really glad we could all work towards it, and I'm thankful to the government of India to giving all of us Bharat ki betis the opportunity to outshine Air India, and just leave such a positive impact throughout the world.
That's such an energetic and powerful message. And I'm so honored. And Dr. Puri, thank you for making this time. Thank you, Zoya, for making this time out for this message and reaching out and making it available after such a long flight you had. It is a privilege to always have you around. And thank you for making the country proud. And you go for higher and fly higher and make more feats. That is what we're aiming and looking forward to.
That's for all of us, Bharat ki betis, all of us together. We make it.
But I have one more person joining in, Mr. Puri. This is Shavina. She's also a commercial pilot license holder from Kolkata. And she's here she's belonged to the family of aviation again, but she has not taken a flight yet. So you were always saying, we want all the women pilots to take the flight. I think Shavina is there to take a flight soon. She has a question for you, Mr. Puri. And
Please.
Go on, Shavina, with what you want to ask.
Good afternoon, sir. It's an extreme honor to speak to you. We all are so happy for the fact that the Aviation Ministry is encouraging women pilots to fly high and fulfill all their dreams. So I'm a passionate flyer myself, inspired by my dad. He has served Air India for more than 25 years and luckily been a part of Vande Bharat flights as well. So out of my personal concern, I wanted to ask you, why has Air India brought its retirement age down to 58 years from 65? If you would like to just throw some light on it.
I want to be absolutely honest. I have no idea. Those are management decisions which don't come to the ministry.
Right.
I am... as I said, I am an admirer of Air India. Even when I was an international civil servant, I used to prefer flying by Air India, even though it meant taking a longer route or whatever it is. That's a separate issue.
Right, sir. Right.
The management of an airline is left to the airline itself. How they manage itself, how many, flying hours they get paid for. So that's what a minister doesn't deal with those things. Right.
Right.
But I can tell you two things which will make you happy. It's not just people like yourselves and our friend Captain Zoya, even if you look at the senior management of Air India, the top jobs in the board, at the director level, they're women.
Right.
I mean, the director commercial is a woman. The director for HR is a woman. And let me give you another one. Another success story we have is Alliance Air. And the person who's the chief executive officer of Alliance Air is also a woman, Harpreet. Her husband is a pilot. So it's the women. This is part of our society. And by the way, I spent 39 years in the Indian Foreign Service, and I was always overwhelmed, not only by Lakshmi at home, but there were times when if you have 4 secretaries in Delhi, 3 of the secretaries were ladies. I had Nirupama, Lata. Sometimes I used to wonder, hey, wait a minute. Here we are trying to work out, female empowerment and International Women's Day. Wait a minute. So I'm not. I mean, I'm glad Lakshmi is not watching. She would say, "Watch out, you're crossing the line."
Send it through.
No, but let me tell you, that is what makes for India's strength.
Right.
That is what makes for India. How our countries can produce female prime minister, female president, any religious denomination that you have. Okay, you had President Kalam, you had Sardar Gyani Zail Singh. I mean, that's the beauty of India. But that beauty of India resonates through the democratic structures that we have. And I can tell you, your father was with Air India.
Yes.
I don't know whom you are flying with. But if you start flying with an airline, you would get in on your own merit. But that is what we are all built. I mean, what you get is a supportive ecosystem at home. I mean, a different thing when, Lakshmi and I have 2 daughters and we are very proud of them. When they were growing up, I told them, do any of you want to join the Foreign Service? I mean, it didn't take a minute, said no way. Now, the reason they gave, I can't tell you. Because that would be letting the Foreign Service crowd down. But I don't blame them. One of them was born in Sri Lanka when we were posted there. The other was 40 days old when we went to Tokyo. Then they studied in international schools in Geneva and other places. They've changed. They've got an opportunity.
Right.
India is that cradle which nurses opportunity, which provides encouragement to genius. And I'm very happy, this young lady who's doing this podcast. I don't know how old she is, but my God, she's dynamic. I saw an interview with her, which she did with Shekhar Gupta the other day, then another one. I mean, this is a new medium. And the fact that you can work hard, collect people where there's interest in Air India to get Zoya, I don't know what time Zoya got in. When I was in New York 5 years as ambassador, and the Air India flights used to get in there pretty early. So I know, so she's probably had a long journey from 15 hours of flying, at least 15, 16 hours.
Yes.
And why is she here? Because there is a sense of, commitment which comes from professional pride. So I think it's a fantastic system we have, but we sometimes let ourselves down by taking up peripheral issues, wanting to do it my way or the highway. I don't want to derail this discussion because she and I were discussing this a little earlier in the day.
No, but that's so true. And we are dominating the screen. I'm so liking the screen frame now. I think girls.
In fact, I would like to add a couple of Ankush statistics to what Sir said. Air India, when I joined the airline, at that time, most of the international carriers didn't even take women pilots. And I'm talking about leading international carriers. And even till about 2 years back, leading international carriers just started with taking women pilots. And Air India, right from the time I joined, just 17 years back, used to be an equal opportunity employer back then. I was amongst one of the first few to join in, but still, whenever I joined in, there were equal opportunities presented all across the board. And I'm so happy that our women have grown to 12.4%, as Sir was telling us earlier. Whereas the global statistics, I would just like to tell you a little bit about global statistics. It's about 5% worldwide.
So it's almost double, as he said, yes.
Yes, and only 1.24% out of that are lady captains, women commanders.
Wow.
That's it. And in the US, the airline pilots, like how in Air India, it's 12.4%. In the US, it's a mere 4.5. So we are talking almost 3 times the percentage of the US airlines. So it just says, the statistic says leaps and bounds about the kind of women empowerment India has as a whole.
Totally.
Nobody
And
even
I
has to
think
say a word.
this is something which had to be put out. I mean, there out with the numbers. But I have one thing to bring in before we all find our more, deeper talks and thoughts around it. Is I'll bring on one more female, Chetna. Here, she's from my team. She's a mass comm young student from IP University, and here she is to play a game. Now we have to lighten the mood, Mr. Puri. We have taken a lot of your discussions, a lot of your opinions, and we go stand by it. But this is some fun element, some fun moment that we want to do with you, and we want your sporting nature. You're coming off. So Chetna, I'll put it through you, and let's see how much Mr. Puri fares in this. It's a very short one. We won't take much of your time, just 2 or 3 minutes for you to go by this, and let's have fun around it. Chetna?
Okay, hello, sir. Really excited to be here. The first one, the first thing that we will be doing is really simple. We have searched some images through internet, and we just want your opinion on it. Like, what was your story? What was the story behind you posting it? And just like very casual images. Okay.
I can see that.
Okay. Yeah.
That is the year is 1976 January. We have just arrived in Tokyo. Must have been I think around 10th of January 1976. Why I'm sure is because Lakshmi is holding our daughter Himani,
Wow.
and Himani is less than 40 days old,
Oh my
and
God.
the other two ladies are one is our lady Shanti was her name. She was the person looking after Himani, because Lakshmi and I were both language students in Tokyo, and the Japanese lady sitting next to her is a Japanese lady who was helping us because we didn't know the language initially, and we were going to school, etc. And this is in a place called Ogikubo, which is a suburb of Tokyo.
I'm amazed by your memory, sir. You have a vivid memory about it.
Well, I mean, I can't miss this because this photograph is so obvious, because, you
And
see.
you look so different. I have to make this comment. You look so unrecognizable.
Thank you very much for reminding me
I'm
how
not
old I am.
flattering this time. Chetna, move to the next one.
Okay. So this is the next picture.
That must be, I'll tell you what, that must be 1960. That's me and my younger brother, the guy in front making a funny face. Because why?
My
Because
God.
my brother was born in 1956, and behind me are my parents. And I was born in 52. My brother was born in 56. So this must be about 1959 or
Yes.
60, because my brother is about 3 years old. And we were on a holiday. My father was posted in Germany. We were on a holiday to the Netherlands, and that, you can see a canal and boats. And what is that famous city there where they have a lot of canals in Netherlands? It's either Amsterdam or Rotterdam, one of the two. Yeah.
That's the moment there. And then we move to a very short game of this and that, Chetna, if you have that on your.
Okay, so I'll be asking you some questions. There will be very quick choices, and you have to like quickly pick one of them. You can't think. Like, that's the catch of the game. Okay, so the first one is being a minister or being a diplomat.
Minister.
You've traveled a lot. So what has been your favorite place of all time?
No, wait a minute. I didn't answer the question. You chose, what do I prefer, being a minister or a
Or
diplomat?
diplomat, yeah.
The wrong question. Ministers have to be diplomats at all times.
Okay.
Any
That's a smart answer.
minister who chooses to, I can give you the names of one or two of my colleagues. They keep putting their foot in their mouth. They're saying the right thing. But sometimes when you interviewed by Anku, you should not say the right thing. You should say the politically correct thing.
You should always be politically correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Oh my God, that was amazing. Okay, so the next question is favorite place till now.
New
You've
York.
traveled so much. I think 4 decades you've stayed out.
No,
So where-
other than my country, I was born in Delhi. Delhi is my favorite city. But favorite place, Delhi I belong to. I was born here. I'm
Yeah.
living here permanently. But otherwise, New York.
Okay,
New
great.
York. So I think Zoe is
So
sitting.
all these travel stories, and we know you've written a lot of books about politics. So what would you prefer your next book to be? A book on politics and your
No,
work, or a
I
travel
have
story?
I have written 3 books. One I can see behind Anku, I can see the
Yes,
cover.
I have it. I'm still reading
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That was my first book. That was on the use of force. It's called Perilous Intervention. India was on the Security Council. I was warning all my colleagues, the Americans, the British, etc. I said, you're following the wrong policies. You're using force from outside, military force from outside to effect regime change. Countries will collapse and never recover. And I was proved right. That is 2016. After that, I've written another book called Delusional Politics. But when I wrote Delusional Politics, I had signed a 2-book offer with the publisher Penguin Random House,
Okay.
and then the book is a collection of my pieces. So I don't have to decide. My 4th book is already decided, but I haven't had the time. It's called The Perfect Storm, where I was going to deal with issues like following water levels in the Middle East. And I said, you don't need to use force and bomb the hell out of places. If water level falls, people will be going from the Middle East to places like Europe. They might come here. They might go elsewhere where there is water, because that's going to be the next war. And I talked about, population dynamics. I said that, this book is still to be written, but this was the concept. If you look at all the political leaders in Europe, they were either not married, or if they were married, they didn't have children. So I said that the fertility rate in Europe is coming way down below the reproductive rate for you to maintain a population growth. And then I mentioned other things. So the name of the book was Perfect Storm. But then after that, after I agreed to write it, then came COVID. So now I have COVID is the perfect storm. So whenever I get a little time from my ministerial responsibilities, my 4th book will come, and it's written in my mind. It's there. There are chapters already there. It looks at the history of the world, 1845, 1945, and 2045. 1945, why? That is after the Second World War, the international governance architecture in the form of the UN was created. And 2045 is what we are staring at. And what is 2045 going to be? Will the same architecture which you used to bring the Second World War to an end, to devise governance structures like the IMF, World Bank, GATT, now the WTO, will that suffice? My thinking is no. The world is going to change. And I think COVID itself has taught us that the post-COVID world will change. Now Zoya flies non-stop from San Francisco to Bangalore, or from, long-haul flight. If you ask me, post-COVID in civil aviation will be point to point. All this business about hubs, you take a 1.5 hour journey from here into the Middle East somewhere, Gulf, or in other words, have change in big airports. I think that's good. People will suddenly realize that wherever there are potential for super spreader events, etc., you avoid those, take your direct flights from points A to B. This is my view just now. But, let's see how it evolves. Secondly, I think the post-COVID work norm is going to change. Lakshmi has written on it extensively. It's not going to be, just imagine, some of us might actually get used to the idea of interacting with each other on this media, which will be a pity, because there is no substitute for physically meeting people within a social distance, etc. Because it's the quality of a virtual interaction and the quality of interaction. I know my lawyer friends are telling me, he said, it's all very well, we have time and we are speaking. But, unless the arguments a lawyer is making, unless he's able to analyze have eye contact with the judge, see the body language, you're not sure. You're not sure whether, how you are, because the medium is different. But I hope we don't get used to this idea. And some of us may turn around saying, you don't have to get out of the house. You can conduct your whole life sitting at home. You can contact the outside world. You don't need to go shopping. You can order your groceries in, on your phone. Well, that'll be a pity, but I hope it doesn't come to that. But I think we are going to navigate our way through this.
Totally. Thank you so much, ladies, for this time and getting us here to this wonderful discussion. It was lovely. And before we have to let Mr. Puri go, I think just one more question has just come in from Shailesh Sharma. He's representing. Are you there, Shailesh? If you can quickly just peep in and.
Good afternoon, sir. I represent Network of Indian Mice Agents. So my question is there any expectation of smaller mice groups to be allowed in the country and who are vaccinated? So are there any relaxations which are proposed in the near term, sir?
Look, India is an open country, completely open. We have allowed people to come over the centuries to seek refuge, to this thing, other than some security this thing, which, we have to, because those situations have been thrust on us, including where, insurgency, etc. We have not been close to anyone. So I'm sure when we open up tourist traffic, we will open up to all other professions. People are coming on professional visas. So the short answer, I don't know what your specific concern is, but my short answer is no, I don't see any possibility of us remaining behind closed walls. But as I said, once normalcy picks up, we don't have to call our Air India operations bubble flights, which we have incidentally opening one or two more. We'll be normal traffic. I mean, Air India, whoever owns it, will be able to respond to the market forces. You have a summer schedule which started, you'll have a winter schedule, you open up where you have traffic, people will get visas to come to India, whether they are workers' visas, professional visas, that's a separate issue. So my answer to Shailesh is no, I don't anticipate any difficulty with the passage of time.
I hope, Shailesh, you got your answer there. But
Thank
with
you
this,
so much,
I've
sir.
taken a lot of your time, sir. As my ritual goes, I will not let you go without giving us one moment that you have, like your favorite song. I've always had this fetish of knowing what is that relaxation mood song. There's a minister, a diplomat, or a person with so much vivacious energy holds. So just if you can mention that to us, that what's that gives you peace amidst all this action that you do all through the day.
No, hold on. First of all, in the age of technology, you don't need to have a favorite, any one favorite.
Okay.
I've got a screen on my table. That screen on my table, based on algorithm, it itself keeps playing stuff that I've been listening to for years. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So there will be, if you are, sometimes it brings in songs of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Sometimes, more often, Pink Floyd comes up. So I tell Vrinda, who's sitting here, my social media team, don't take a photograph with my screen with Pink Floyd playing. Why? Because, people say, man, this guy, minister, when does he work? He's listening to Pink Floyd all the time. Anyway, wait a minute. Just now the screen is on, there's no voice. But when you take a photograph, the photograph doesn't tell you whether the music is on or not. It just shows you the screen. So, point I'm making is, look, I'm very relaxed on musical taste. From Divinity, you know what, I don't know when you're familiar, devotional songs to ghazals to Pink Floyd. I'm very relaxed. By the way, I have one thing, and anyone who's been to my office knows that if I'm alone and don't have visitors, I like soft music playing in the background.
So you escaped it by saying, because I can't ask you to sing the music. It's something you can say.
The algorithm changes it.
But you have to leave me with your favorite ghazal. Now I am being very specific. I need.
No, I don't have a favorite. I have favorites. No single favorite.
Okay, so the last one that you heard, if that can be more specific, and I can't let you be so diplomatic.
No, but the issue is it's a question. Every ghazal reminds you of a certain phase.
Okay.
I know you are very young, so you won't even understand it. I mean, somebody at a very young age says, you hear Jagjit and Chitra sing, baat niklegi to dur tak. That is one phase of your life. Then there is a more deeper ways, when you get, grow up. I mean, frankly, if you people like me have enjoyed Mirza Ghalib, for instance, some of those exchanges that you see, some of the other music. So there is no, when you reach my age, you can afford to have what are called multiple favorites.
So one multiple phase you can share with me, sir. I've been so politely putting through one request, one line.
I particularly insist on, because sometimes the people make fun. I'll tell you a joke. It was very strange. I was in Gorakhpur the other day with Yogi Ji, and one of the members of parliament who's elected from Gorakhpur is an actor who's worked in 650 Bhojpuri movies. I think his name is Ravi Kishan.
Ravi Kishan, the famous actor.
The famous actor. So, we were inaugurating the terminal. Zoya will like this, of the extension of the Gorakhpur airport, which I do a lot these days, airports, airstrips, and so on. So he suddenly started speaking in English. So I said, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. Either he's trying to show off that he speaks English, not possible, because this whole Bhojpuri and, pure Hindi speaking audience. And suddenly struck me. He thinks I don't speak any Hindi. Later on, when my turn came to speak, I spoke Hindi. And, because I've lived 39 years abroad as a member of the Foreign Service and even later, a lot of people who hear me in Parliament think that I only speak English, which is not true. In Parliament, if you hear me, I also speak in Hindi. And
Yes, of
when I'm in a
course.
particular kind of mood, I speak very effective Punjabi also, because that language lends itself to more colorful expression. So then I took a dig at my friend, the Honorable MP. I said, so did you speak in English? He said, oh, I'm very sorry. I thought I've never heard you speak in Hindi. That's what I said. So look, I am very, very relaxed. But one thing that keeps coming up in the algorithm because of my musical thing is Pink Floyd. And I think Comfortably Numb is a song. It's a song which in some ways captures a particular kind of mood. But that's not the one I only sing. It depends on whatever the algorithm is throwing up. It keeps going up and down. There is Phil Collins there. There is Celine. There are all things. And then I have a pretty effective collection in other music. I mean, I was posted to Brazil as ambassador. I have some beautiful tranquility music from the Amazon, and some of the Spanish artists, Portuguese artists. So I'm very relaxed.
But you didn't give me one number that you would sing.
I
for
gave
me.
you Comfortably Numb.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that. And I also have to compliment you for using that tweet where you said, "Pari nahi ho rahi hai." I think you caught on to that.
Yes.
Viral. What made you go there?
No, but it worries me, because I'll tell you something. No one can survive this media of yours, Anku. I don't mean just podcast, but nobody can survive it unless, there is some buy-in from the younger people. I buy that. But please, this problem is not. When we started with COVID, everybody said it's the guys over 60 or 65 who are vulnerable. And if they contracted, their lungs will collapse. If people have had strokes with it. But this new phase is amongst the younger people. That's why chief ministers are saying, vaccinate everybody over 80. Now, look, I'm hearing that. But for heaven's sake, when the resource is limited, I know Mr. Poonawalla and others are saying that by the end of the month, they'll be making 100 million doses a month. And other, vaccine suppliers are there in the pipeline to be able to do it. But let's be careful. Till you have unlimited supplies, you still have to go by priorities on who's vulnerable. So your partying type, use your messaging and tell them, guys, relax. You can have a rollicking time without, violating accepted norms. That's a limited point I'm making.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri, for just making it so deep thought through conversation to a lighter one, to sharing your music collection, your moments, and of course, inspiring us. We're very proud ladies you're sitting all through, and I hope all of us enjoyed it. And we would like to be in touch with you. And thank you again, Zoya, for making us all proud. And thank you, Shavina, for joining in and sharing your
Thank you,
family experience. And we are very, very happy, Mr. Puri, you made this.
Thank you. I want to say something also. I go through a lot of media interaction. Sometimes I'm tearing my hair out in the end, not because I'm scared to say what I have to, but talking to you and through you to my other friends and Zoya, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Puri.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. A, we cannot predict the behavior of the virus, and B, we will have to negotiate our way depending on how the virus behaves. I think end of April, the virus figures will begin to plateau, come down. A repatriation mission cannot be carried out on the principles of the Gurdwara Langar Society. In order to run an airline, you need to maintain aircraft, you need to pay for ATF, you need to pay for it. When Air India is charging 1 lakh, a corresponding American carrier or a Canadian carrier is charging 3 lakh. Today, if somebody wants to troll me on that basis, it doesn't affect me. The Prime Minister did something unprecedented. He himself made the statement that MSP will continue, Mandis will continue.
Then why was the confusion there? Why do you
No, there's
think
no
that
confusion. I would ask Mr. Tharoor, did you do your homework? Did you have sufficient? All the political parties have advocated these reforms. We have a standing invitation to all our farmer friends. MSP is guaranteed. Mandis will stay. If you still have a problem, government's arms are open. We invite you for any discussion, change something. We may have failed to get our message across, for which I think we are willing to make up. But we mean well, not only by the people of Punjab, and particularly the Sikhs. Prime Minister has gone out of his way. And I can give you a long list of what he's done for the Sikhs. I have written 3 books. My first book, that was on the use of force. It's called Perilous Intervention. After that, I've written another book called Delusional Politics. My 4th book is already decided, but I haven't had the time. It's called The Perfect Storm. So whenever I get a little time from my ministerial responsibilities, my 4th book will come. And it's written in my mind. It looks at the history of the world 1845, 1945, and 2045.